So let's move to Scorpio, because we're getting through them. This is quite a long recording, so I might even chop this up. You never know. So into different parts. But let's go into Scorpio now. And the moon in Scorpio is where it's in its fall, or in its, what do you call it?
Depression.
Depression. I don't like that word, but anyway, that's okay.
Well, it's depressed.
It's depression. Yeah, it's depressed. It's not very happy. It doesn't like being there. Yeah,
it's not very happy. Yeah. It don't like being there.
So the moon in Scorpio and the sun in Scorpio coming together, forming an eclipse, and we've got to look at what Scorpio represents. So, and God, that can cover a lot of things. So do you want to touch on that first? What you think from a mundane point of view?
Yeah, well, what I'd also like to include, because we're somewhere along the line, we've been a bit bringing up all of these things. 15 degrees of Libra to 15 degrees of Scorpio is also what we refer to as the fiery way. I refer to it as the fiery way. The ancients called it the combustion, the combustible way.
Okay.
This is a part of the sky back in those days where the tail of the scorpion is in there, and so there's this whole myth about the Milky Way in the center, and so we're entering the Lord, so the light's diminishing out of Libra and going into the underworld, if you like. Scorpio,
yep.
the waters of,
yep.
Yeah, you know, we're going down into Hades territory and the River Styx. You know, and the ferryman, and you know, you've got to pay your way through.
Yeah,
so
don't pay him.
So it's a very intense water emotional sign to start with.
That's right.
And it's probably over emotional, if you like, in that sense, almost edging on the point of can be destructive. But out of the phoenix rises out of it. That's the whole idea of it. Sometimes we need to go into the bottom and die to be reborn.
Yeah.
And so this is the idea here, I think, of how we might think about it. So the sun's diminished by the light of the Scorpion moon.
Mm-hmm.
We would need to understand that it's a very intense time. So anything that we undertake at that time has something very intense and emotional about it.
Yep.
And so what we may select and include is going to be in a very intense emotional perspective.
Exactly. Hold that thought for a second. Lydia, I'm looking at the time being 2:38. I don't think we're going to get to Laura. Okay. Okay. I'm just checking in with you. That's all. So we had the Laura Fair, which is a little town across from us, and we were going to go yesterday, and we didn't go. And then we thought, might go to today after we finish this. But I'm looking at it going, no, I'm not going to get there now. I reckon they'll be closing up by 4 o'clock. So anyway, so let's go back. I'm going to obviously have to edit this out anyway, so I'm not too fast. It's diminishing the light of the sun. Or even and intensifying the component of the moon. So you put an eclipse in there, which means that I would nearly go with the simple thing of saying that an eclipse in Scorpio could lead to some very heightened emotional decisions or emotionally charged decisions that you make that you may wish to not make at that point in time if you can avoid it.
Yeah, and so it's a place that we're also we're in the underworld, so we really are inside our internalism of us. Let me digress here for a second as well. Richard Buckey, a Canadian psychologist who was supposed to have coined the word cosmic consciousness, but it comes from Jacob Cohen, a fellow in the 1500s. And this is all about the Hermetica, if you like, or the Rosicrucians. It's all about growing. And so the intensity that is associated with the Scorpio sign is about the mind is ruled by the moon. It's habitual. The thoughts come in all the time. When we lay down to sleep, we're doing a Scorpio thing.
Yep.
We're allowing the thoughts to come into our heads and be all mashed up. You know, of two minds, Bucky said, this, the Canadian psychiatrist. We are of two minds, or two hearts, as they put it. And so from an intense position in an eclipse in Scorpio, we really need to internalize ourselves and really take a look at what's going on. But it could also be a time when we might do rituals associated with those that have passed.
Fair enough. Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
You know,
it is getting, you know, like, I mean, I know your roots are sort of a Cancerian thing, but really it's literally for those that have passed, because Scorpio is the ruler of, you know, of the death cycle, you could say. So rather than the birth, the fertility and the birth process, which might be Cancer, you go into Scorpio, you're talking about the passing of, you know, and the regeneration of those things. But
yeah, look, I don't think there's any too much, you know, and Scorpio does, through the idea of regeneration and metamorphosis, does bring
transform.
back things, and they burst up, but boy, they go through the river Styx first. You
Yes.
know.
So you know, in simple terms, I would also go as far as saying it's probably not a great time to refinance your house.
No.
It's probably, these are the sorts of things. It's not a great time to try and dodge a tax debt, because you might find that someone's going to come after you for it. It might even be that during that period, for certain people, depending, you know, it might be that these sorts of things come to the fore, or you may even be faced with something that has to come to a final end. With Scorpio, I often see that it could be, you know, there could be physical death around somebody at that particular point, depending on where that sits in your chart, or it could be a death or an ending of circumstances that you're involved in. Not a great time probably for investing, I would also say as well, or making decisions around investments, and or borrowing money. So if you're out to borrow money, when I said refinance or out to borrow money, it's probably not a great time to apply to the bank to try and get a loan if that's what you're after. It's those sorts of things. It also, from a purely personal point of view, it may also have not a great time to what's the word for it? Take your stuff out on your partner. Because
projection of emotional states. Yeah,
absolutely. Because, and it may actually bring that sort of stuff up. So it would also bring to light, I believe, as well, any sort of emotional game playing, manipulations, gaslighting sort of events, that type of thing, may also be brought to light, or hidden from you during that process.
Yeah, the hidden part, you know, it's a time when, if you were a destructive individual planning something that you wanted to do undercover, it could be a time to do something undercover. And so
don't give bad people a good idea. But yes.
We can sum it up in generalizing. It's an intense state of emotional being at that time.
That's right. Exactly.